Well, hi there and welcome to week 17 of Pub Quiz 60 here on a Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock. Hopefully you've had time to look at the rules as the video before has been playing, but just as a reminder, here's a quick summary. It's done on pen and paper. There's 5 rounds of 10 questions, point for each question, and there's a bonus question in each round as well worth 2 points, giving a 60-point total for the whole quiz. At the end of each round, there's a minute for any final answering, so if you're unsure of any questions as you go along, just simply make a note in the side of your answer paper. You can always come back to that in that thinking time. The format goes that we'll have the first 3 rounds and then we'll mark those, then a quick 5-minute comfort break before the final 2 rounds. Now, live chat will be off during the quiz, so you can't put any answers on for others to see, but I will switch it on during the 5-minute break and at the end of the quiz as well if you want to put down your scores or any other comments. It's always good to see. But I think without any further ado, we'll get on with the quiz. Normally takes about an hour or so we'll speed along at a good pace and hopefully not take up too much of your Tuesday evening. So into our first round this week, which is geography. And question 1 is, what is the capital city of Nepal? What is the capital city of Nepal? Now, as I say, there's a minute's thinking time at the end of each round, so if you're unsure on any of the answers, simply write a note at the side of your paper. You can always come back to it in that thinking time. But we will go along at a fairly quick pace just to try and keep to that hour or so. So moving on to question 2 in geography. Which European country's highest elevation point is Grossglockner at 3,798 metres? Which European country's highest elevation point is Grossglockner at 3,798 metres? Question 3. What is the largest freshwater lake in North America? What is the largest freshwater lake in North America? And again, just as a reminder, we'll be doing the first 3 rounds, then we'll be marking those. Then there will be a 5-minute break after the first 3 rounds before we come back to do the final 2 rounds. So question 4 in geography is, the name of which European capital city is derived from the names of 2 towns on either bank of its main river? The name of which European capital city is derived from the names of 2 towns on either bank of its main river? Question 5 in geography is, in which English city is the Clifton Suspension Bridge? In which English city is the Clifton Suspension Bridge? Now, as mentioned earlier, in each round there is a bonus question. It always comes after question 5 and is in some way related to the information in question 5. And it's worth 2 points when it comes to marking. So the bonus question for the geography round, for 2 points when it comes to mark, is, in what decade was this bridge opened? In what decade was this bridge opened? So the bridge that was mentioned in question 5, in what decade was it opened? So 2 points when it comes to marking that, but we go back to the single point questions. Question 6 in geography. For 1 point it is, what is the name of the Parliament of the Isle of Man? What is the name of the Parliament of the Isle of Man? So just 1 point when it comes to marking on those, just 2 points for the bonus questions in each round. And it's worth remembering at this stage as well, as per every other week, we don't take spelling too seriously on this, and so if an answer looks like it's spelt right, then it's worth the points if you're marking for someone else. Moving on, question 7 in geography is: Salem is the capital of which American state? Salem is the capital of which American state? If you're not sure on these as well, just write them down at the side of your paper. There is a minute's thinking time at the end of this and all rounds. Just 3 questions to go in the first round, geography, and question 8 is: How is the Welsh island Ynys Mon better known? How is the Welsh island Ynys Mon better known? And forgive my pronunciation of that, it might be Ynys Mon, but the Welsh island spelt there, how is that better known? That brings us on to the penultimate question in the first round. What European country did Romans call Lusitania? What European country did Romans call Lusitania? And that brings us on to the final question in the first round, geography. Question 10. Scenes from which 007 film were shot at Stoke Poges Golf Club in Buckinghamshire? Scenes from which 007 film were shot at Stoke Poges Golf Club in Buckinghamshire? And that brings us to the end of round 1. Like I say, there's a minute now just to finalise any answers you're unsure of, just to make sure you don't leave any blanks when it comes to marking. So we'll pop a minute on the clock now, and then after that we'll come back and start round 2. A minute on the clock. So that's a minute there just to finalise any answers you're unsure of on the geography round, and there is a minute at the end of all rounds as well, to help you make sure you don't leave any blanks when it comes to marking. But I think we'll move on to round 2, and round 2 this week is Science and Nature. And the first question in Science and Nature round is, what is the Latin name for the constellation known as the Little Bear? What is the Latin name for the constellation known as the Little Bear? As a reminder from the first round as well, if you're unsure of any answers, just write a little note in your paper at the side. You can always come back to it in the minute's thinking time at the end of each round. We won't be going over the questions again. Moving on to question 2 in Science and Nature. What wireless technology is named after a medieval Danish king? What wireless technology is named after a medieval Danish king? So we'll go along at a good pace. As I say, it usually takes about an hour of the quiz. So as I say, if you aren't sure of any answers, just jot them down, and there is a minute's thinking time at the end of each round. Question 3 in Science and Nature. On the human body, what S describes the cartilage separating the left and right nostrils? On the human body, what S describes the cartilage separating the left and right nostrils? Takes us on to question 4, which is, what is the scientific name for the southern equivalent of the aurora borealis? What is the scientific name for the southern equivalent of the aurora borealis? And again, on these, if spelling is not 100% accurate, but the answer's there, then it's certainly worth the mark if you're marking on behalf of someone else. 1 point for that one though, question 4. We'll move on to question 5. And that is, which Greek scholar reportedly proclaimed Eureka when he stepped into a bath and noticed the displacement of water? Which Greek scholar reportedly proclaimed Eureka when he stepped into a bath and noticed the displacement of water? So 1 point for question 5, but following that, as per each round, we have a bonus question for 2 points when it comes to marking, related in some way to question 5. And the bonus question for the Science and Nature round for 2 points is, what island was this scholar born on? What island was this scholar born on? So that's the scholar mentioned in question 5. What island was this scholar born on? 2 points when it comes to marking these. Same for all the bonus questions in all the 5 rounds. So 60 points in total for the whole quiz. At the halfway mark, well, we will be 3 rounds in, so 36 points available. We'll open up the live chat then and pop your scores on. Any score 25-30, great score. Anything above that, a superb score. Good target to aim for. Right, back to the 1 point questions, and in Science and Nature, question 6. What organ is surgically removed in a cholecystectomy? What organ is surgically removed in a cholecystectomy? Just 1 point for these questions, only 2 points for the bonus question. If you're unsure of any of these, just write a little note on the side, you can always come back to it. But moving on to question 7 in Science and Nature. Who performed 3 orbits of the Earth in the Friendship 7 spacecraft in 20th of February 1962? Who performed 3 orbits of the Earth in the Friendship 7 spacecraft in February 1962? Just 3 more questions in round 2. And question 8 is, a form of computer data storage, what does the acronym RAM stand for? A form of computer data storage, what does the acronym RAM stand for? And that's just 2 more questions now in the second round, Science and Nature. Question 9, and it is, what acid is commonly found in car batteries? What acid is commonly found in car batteries? And that brings us to the last question in round 2, question 10, which is, what colour does copper give to a firework? What colour does copper give to a firework? So that's the end of 10 questions in round 2, Science and Nature. As before, we'll now have a minute on the clock just to finalise any answers you're unsure of and make sure you don't leave any blanks. And then after that minute, we'll come back and do the third round. And following that, we'll have the marking of the first 3 rounds. But for the moment, a minute on the clock just to finalise any answers for round 2. Okay, so that's the end of the minute's thinking time there for the second round. We'll now move into round 3, and it's another picture round this week again, and it's logos. Simply name the logos you'll see in all the pictures. It's the same question for all questions. It all makes sense as it goes along. There is a bonus question in the middle as well, but simply We'll see from question 1. Name the company whose logo that is. Now for the picture rounds, we won't be going over the pictures again or showing them after they've gone from the screen and we've moved on to the next question. So if you're unsure of any of these, then do take a screen grab or do take a photo on your phone, and then you can always come back to it and have a look at it and check in the minutes thinking time that's at the end of this round. But that's question 1. Whose logo is that? Moving on to question 2. Once again, whose logo is that? Or at least part of? Moving on to question 3. Once again, one simple question. Whose logo is that? So if you're unsure of any of these pictures, like I say, do take a picture on your phone or screen grab on your laptop. We won't be going back over the pictures at the end of the round, but there will be a minute's thinking time. Takes us on to question 4. Again, the same simple question. Whose logo is that? Question 5. One simple question again. Whose logo is that? One point for question 5, as in each round, but as before, there will be a bonus question following this for 2 points when it comes to marking that is in some way related to question 5. But the 1 point question, simply whose logo is that? And the bonus question for 2 points when it comes to marking, related to question 5, in what country is this company based? In what country is this company based? So 2 points when it comes to marking for that question. But back to the single point questions. Question 6. In logos, one simple question again. Whose logo is that? Four more questions to go in the logos round. Question 7. Simple question. Whose logo is that? It's worth mentioning if you are unsure of any of these, then do take a picture or a screen grab. We won't be showing the logos once we've gone over them once. Just 3 questions to go in logos, and question 8 is, once again, the simple question, whose logo is that? That takes us on to the penultimate question in round 3. Again, the one simple question, whose logo is that? And that takes us to the last question in round 3, the pictures round. Final one, whose logo is that? So that brings us to the end of round 3, the logos round. We'll now have a minute just to finalise any answers you're unsure of in that round. So hopefully you've taken some pictures on your phone or screen grabs if you're unsure. But it's also a final minute to make sure you've got no blanks in your answer sheets for rounds 1 and 2. Because when we come back from this 1 minute here, we'll be marking those first 3 rounds and again get an idea of score before we have a quick break. But for the moment, we'll pop a minute on the clock just to finalise answers for this logos round and the first 3 rounds. A minute on the clock, starting. Okay, so that's the end of the minute's thinking time for the first 3 rounds as a whole. What we'll do now is we'll mark those first 3 rounds before we have a quick 5-minute break for you to go and grab a drink, a bite to eat, let the dog out, whatever you need to do. And then we'll get an idea of what the scores are. I'll switch on the live chat so you can pop your scores in there and your comments before we come back after that to do the final 2 rounds. So going through the answers, I won't put them up on screen, I'll just read them out as we go along and mark as you go along. I'll give clues and ideas about the points as well, just to remind about the bonuses. So the first round was geography, question 1. What is the capital city of Nepal? Well, that is Kathmandu. And it's worth reminding at this stage as well, spellings aren't the most important thing here. If it looks like the answer and you're marking on behalf of someone else, then if it looks right, then give them the points. Question 2, which European country's highest elevation point is Großglockner at 3,798 metres? Well, that is in Austria. Question 3, what is the largest freshwater lake in North America? That is Lake Superior. Question 4, the name of which European capital city is derived from the names of two towns on its riverbank either side? Well, that is Budapest. Budapest. Question 5, for 1 point, in which English city is the Clifton Suspension Bridge? Well, you'll find that in Bristol. Bristol for 1 point. Then for 2 points, the bonus question related to that, in what decade was this bridge opened? Well, it was opened in the 1860s, in 1864, 1860s. So 2 points if you got that correct. Back to the single point questions. Question 6, what is the name of the Parliament of the Isle of Man? Well, that is known as the Tynwald, the Tynwald. Again, if spellings are slightly off, then that's not the end of the world. If it looks like Tynwald, then it's worthy of the point. Question 7, Salem is the capital of which American state? Well, it is the capital of Oregon, Oregon. Question 8, how is the Welsh island of Ynys Môn better known? That is better known as Anglesey, up there in the north of Wales, Anglesey. Question 9, what European country did Romans call Lusitania? Well, that is modern-day Portugal. Modern-day Portugal was Lusitania to the Romans. And question 10, scenes from which 007 film was shot at Stoke Poges Golf Club in Buckinghamshire? Well, that was from Goldfinger, Goldfinger. So possible 12 points there to score. If you didn't write those down, we'll tally them up after the first 3 rounds. And then when the live chat's open, then you're welcome to pop your scores on to get an idea who's doing well. Like I say, after 3 rounds, a score of 25 to 30 is a good score. Based on the previous week's scores, anything over 30, a very good score. But moving on to the marking of Science and Nature, round 2. First question, what is the Latin name for the constellation known as the Little Bear? Well, that is Ursa Minor, Ursa Minor. Question 2, what wireless technology is named after a medieval Danish king? Well, that is Bluetooth. Bluetooth was a medieval Danish king. Question 3, on the human body, what S describes the cartilage separating the nostrils? That is the septum. Septum. Question 4, what is the scientific name for the southern equivalent of the aurora borealis, or the northern lights? Well, they're known as the aurora australis, aurora australis, or southern lights. But the scientific name we're looking for, aurora australis. Question 5, for 1 point, which Greek scholar reportedly proclaimed Eureka when he stepped into a bath? Well, that was Archimedes. Archimedes. 1 point for that, but the bonus question for 2 points, what island was this scholar born on? Well, he was born on Sicily. Sicily was where he was born, so 2 points if you got that right, well done. Back to the single point questions though. Question 6 for 1 point. What organ is surgically removed in a cholecystectomy? Well, that is removal of the gallbladder, the gallbladder. Question 7, who performed 3 orbits of the Earth in Friendship 7 in 1962? Well, that was the astronaut John Glenn. John Glenn, back in 1962. Question 8, a form of computer data storage, what does RAM stand for? Well, it stands for Random Access Memory. Random Access Memory. 1 point for that. Question 9, what acid is commonly found in car batteries? Well, that is sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. And then question 10, the last one in Science and Nature, what colour does copper give to a firework? Well, if you add copper to a firework, it makes it turn green. Green is the colour that copper would give to a firework. So again, 12 points available there. If you just make a note of that and add it to your first round scores from geography, we'll see how we're getting on, tally it up, but still one more round to mark, and that is the logos round. I won't pop these up on screen again, so we'll just go through these quite quickly. Logo 1, that's the logo of Superdrug. Superdrug. Logo 2 was Greggs. Greggs there, or part of the Greggs logo. Question 3, the logo is Lacoste. Question 4, the logo there is Motorola. Question 5, the car logo there was Mazda. For 1 point, that's Mazda. But the bonus question, question 2, related to that, is in what country is this company based? Well, they're based out of Japan. 2 points for that. Question 6, back to the single points, that F was the logo of Fila. Question 7, that was the logo of Yamaha. Yamaha, well done if you got that one. Question 8, the orange with the red K, that's the logo of, or was the logo of Kodak. Question 9, that's the logo of Oxfam. And question 10, that's the logo of Prudential. So that's then marking of the third round, so 36 points possibly on the scoreboard there. What we'll do now is we'll have a 5-minute break, and then I'll put the live chat open as well, so you can pop down any comments or your scores as well. It's always good to see who's doing well at this stage of the game. After that, we'll come back and do the final 2 rounds before again we open up the live chat and get an idea of final scores. But for the moment, we'll have 5 minutes on the clock, and then let's say we'll be back and do the final 2 rounds. 5 minutes on the clock. Okay, so that's that quick 5-minute break over. Hopefully enough time for you to stretch your legs, grab a bite to eat, have a drink, let the dog out, whatever you need to do. Also now I'll switch the live chat off. It's good to see some good scores coming through there, but I'll pop the live chat off back again for the final 2 rounds before we pop it back on at the end to see final scores and see what the total scores were at the end and who was the winner. But to keep things moving along, let's go straight into round 4. And round 4 this week is called Connection. All the answers here, general knowledge questions, but they all have a common connection, which might help in answering as you go along. But I won't reveal what the connection is. Question 1. What type of animal was the toy called Wheezy in the film Toy Story 2? What type of animal was the toy called Wheezy in the film Toy Story 2? Again, at the end of this round, there will be a minute's thinking time, so if you're unsure of any of the answers, do jot them down on your paper at the side. But in this round, all the answers have a connection in common. So if you're not sure of an answer, then it may become obvious, and the more answers are revealed, and maybe you guess what the connection is. Moving on though, question 2 is, which book and radio series is the author Douglas Adams most famous for? Which book and radio series is the author Douglas Adams most famous for? So as you start getting some of the answers coming in, you may see or may be able to guess what the connection is. The more answers obviously helps a lot easier to maybe establish what the connection is. Question 3, though, in connection, is which famous annual sporting event was first held in 1981 when it was won by Dick Beardsley? Which famous annual sporting event was first held in 1981 when it was won by Dick Beardsley? So if you're unsure of any of the answers, do jot them down or the question down in the side of your paper. There will be a minute's thinking time at the end of this round as for the previous 3 rounds. But question 4. What was the occupation of Fred Housego, the winner of Mastermind in 1980? What was the occupation of Fred Housego, the winner of Mastermind in 1980? Question 5. In The Wizard of Oz, which character was searching for courage? In The Wizard of Oz, which character was searching for courage? So 1 point for question 5 there, but as ever, there's a bonus question worth 2 points that in some way relates to the information in question 5. And the bonus question in the connection round for 2 points is, when was this film released? When was this film released? And to make it slightly easier, we'll allow 1 year either side. 2 points when it comes to marking this, though. Back to the single point questions, though. Question 6. Which group had top 10 hits with Kissing in the Back Row of the Movies, Saturday Night at the Movies, and Save the Last Dance for Me? Which group had top 10 hits with Kissing in the Back Row of the Movies, Saturday Night at the Movies, and Save the Last Dance for Me? So hopefully the more answers have come in, perhaps the connection is becoming clear. What's the shared connection between all the answers? Maybe not. Maybe question 7 will help. Question 7 is for which historical event is Captain William Bligh best known? For which historical event is Captain William Bligh best known? Just 3 more questions in the connection round. Question 8, and that is, which 1970s film directed by Peter Weir was about the disappearance of several schoolgirls on Valentine's Day in 1900? Which 1970s film directed by Peter Weir was about the disappearance of several schoolgirls on Valentine's Day in 1900? And just 2 more questions to go in the connections round. An ultimate one, question 9 is, it's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, is the opening line from which famous David Bowie song? It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, is the opening line from which famous David Bowie song? And that just means 1 question remaining, question 10 in the connections round. And you could have probably guessed the question for question 10 is, what is the shared connection between the first 9 answers? What is the shared connection between the first 9 answers, excluding the bonus question or the year in the bonus question? So hopefully if you picked up the connection, then some of the answers that you weren't sure of, you might be able to make an intelligent guess at. But we will have a minute on the clock now as well, just to finalise any answers you're unsure of, and then we'll come back after that to do the 5th and final round, which as ever is general knowledge. But for the moment, a minute on the clock to finalise any answers in the connection round starting. Okay, so it's a minute's thinking time there for the connections round. Hopefully you managed to get all the 9 main answers and the connection. But now we'll move on to the 5th and final round, and as per each week, round 5 is general knowledge. Just 10 more questions to go before we do final markings and get an idea of final scores. And question 1 in general knowledge this week is: which structured reality television series broadcast by E4 is mostly shot in the West London areas of Belgravia, Kings Road and Knightsbridge? Which structured reality television series broadcast by E4 is mostly shot in the areas of Belgravia, Kings Road and Knightsbridge? As per all the rounds, there will be a final minute's thinking time at the end of this as well, just to get any answers you're unsure of, both for this general knowledge round and the connections round. But moving on, question 2 in general knowledge is: which artist's most famous work is The Persistence of Memory? Which artist's most famous work is The Persistence of Memory? And as per previous rounds as well, if spellings are slightly out, we're not going to worry too much about that. But moving on, question 3. Which Coldplay singer-songwriter married Gwyneth Paltrow in 2003? Which Coldplay singer-songwriter married Gwyneth Paltrow in 2003? If you're unsure of any of the answers currently, remember just to write down something in the side of your paper. You've got a minute at the end to finalise any questions you're unsure of. But we'll move on. Question 4 in general knowledge, and it is: who is the first Disney princess and the first fictional female character with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Who is the first Disney princess and the first fictional female character with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Moving on, question 5, keeping good time this week. Question 5. For 1 point, it is: which French historical novel by Victor Hugo, first published in 1862, is considered to be one of the great novels? Which French historical novel by Victor Hugo, first published in 1862, is considered to be one of the great novels? So it's 1 point here for question 5, but as per the previous rounds, there will be a bonus question after this for 2 points when it comes to marking. And the bonus question in general knowledge for 2 points is: the musical version of this novel has been performed in London since what year? The musical version of this novel has been performed in London since what year? And we'll give 1 year either side again. 2 points when it comes to marking this as well, as a reminder. That takes us back to the 1-point questions again. Question 6 in general knowledge. Who was elected as Member of Parliament for Falmouth and Camborne in 1992 for the Conservative Party? Who was elected Member of Parliament for Falmouth and Camborne in 1992 for the Conservative Party? Just 1 point when it comes to marking those as well, remember. Only 2 points for the bonus questions. Moving on, question 7 in general knowledge is, which economist was the first Scotsman to feature on an English banknote? Which economist was first Scotsman to feature on an English banknote? Just 3 more questions to go in the round and the quiz as a whole. So we move on to question 8. Which cosmetics company was founded in 1976 by Anita Roddick? Which cosmetics company was founded in 1976 by Anita Roddick? Two questions to go in general knowledge and the quiz as a whole. Question 9 is, which Norwegian adventurer does one associate with the ships Kon-Tiki, Ra, and Ra-2? Which Norwegian adventurer does one associate with the ships Kon-Tiki, Ra, and Ra-2? And again, as per previous rounds, spelling not that important. If it looks at the answer when it comes to marking, then the points are there. 1 point for question 9. And that brings us to the final question in the general knowledge round and the quiz as a whole. Question 10 in general knowledge is, which element did Marie Curie name after the country of her birth? Which element did Marie Curie name after the country of her birth? And that brings us to the end both of round 5, general knowledge, and also the quiz as a whole. What we'll do now, though, is have a minute just to finalise any answers you're unsure of, both in the general knowledge round and also the connection round, before we come back and mark those last 2 rounds. After that, we can add that to the scores you had from the first 3, and I'll open up the live chat if you want to pop down your final total scores. So when there's any other comments as well, I'll leave the live chat on for a few minutes afterwards just to see your comments as well. But for the moment, just have 1 more minute on the clock just to finalise answers you're unsure of for those last 2 rounds. A minute on the clock, start. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the minute's thinking time for those last 2 rounds. Hopefully you've not got any blanks on your answer sheet as it comes to time now to mark those final 2 rounds. So as before, I'll just read through the questions and read the answers as we go through. I won't pop them up on the screen. So we'll start by marking round 4, the connections round. And the first question in the connections round, what type of animal was the toy called Wheezy in the film Toy Story 2? Well, he was a penguin. Question 2, which book and radio series is the author Douglas Adams most famous for? That's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Question 3, which famous annual sporting event was first held in 1981, won by Dick Beardsley? Well, that was the London Marathon. Question 4, what was the occupation of Fred Housego, the winner of Mastermind in 1980? Well, he was a famous winner and he was a taxi driver. Question 5, in The Wizard of Oz, which character was searching for courage? That was the lion. 1 point for that, and then the bonus question related to that for 2 points. When was this film released? With 1 year either side. Well, it was released in 1939. 1939. So if you put 1938, 39, or 40, then 2 points for that. Well done. Question 6, just for 1 point though, which group had hits with Kissing in the Back Row of the Movies, Saturday Night at the Movies, and Save the Last Dance for Me? That was the Drifters. Question 7, for which historical event is Captain William Bligh best known? Well, that is the Mutiny on the Bounty. Mutiny on the Bounty. Question 8, which 70s film directed by Peter Weir was about the disappearance of several schoolgirls on Valentine's Day in 1900? Well, that film was called Picnic at Hanging Rock. Picnic on Hanging Rock. And then question 9, it's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair is the opening line from which famous David Bowie song? Well, that's the opening line from Life on Mars. Life on Mars. That's the first 9 questions. And question 10, again for 1 point, what is the shared connection between the first 9 answers? Well, the connection is chocolate or chocolate bars. We had Penguin, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, London Marathon, Taxi Driver, The Lion, as in Lion Bar, The Drifters, Mutiny on the Bounty, Picnic, Hanging Rock, and Life on Mars. So the connection there, chocolate bars, anything close to that, then it's a 1 point for that question 10. That's the connection between the first 9 answers. Well done if you got that. Then into the final round, round 5, which as ever is general knowledge. First question, which structured reality TV show shot by E4 was mostly shot in Belgravia, Kings Road and Knightsbridge? That's Made in Chelsea. Made in Chelsea. Question 2, which artist's most famous work is The Persistence of Memory? Well, that is Salvador Dali, his most famous work. Question 3, which Coldplay singer-songwriter married Gwyneth Paltrow in 2003? That is Chris Martin. Question 4, who is the first Disney princess and fictional female character with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Well, that's Snow White. Snow White. Well done if you got that. 1 point. Question 5, which French historical novel by Victor Hugo, published in 1862, is one of the great novels? That is, of course, Les Miserables. Les Miserables. 1 point for that. But then for 2 points, the bonus question related to that, the musical version of this novel has been performed in London since what year? Well, it's 1 year either side as well. It was first performed in London in 1985. 1985. So 1984, 5 or 6, 2 points there. Well done. Back to the 1 point questions though. Question 6, who was elected as a Member of Parliament for Falmouth and Camborne in 1992 for the Conservative Party? Well, that was Sebastian Coe. Sebastian Coe. 1 point if you got that. Question 7, which economist was the first Scotsman to feature on an English banknote? Well, that's the economist Adam Smith. Adam Smith. Just 3 more questions to go, marking. Question 8, which cosmetics company was founded in 1976 by Anita Roddick? That was The Body Shop. Body Shop. Question 9, which Norwegian adventurer does one associate with the ships Kon-Tiki, Ra, and Ra-2? Well, that is the adventurer Thor Heyerdahl. Thor Heyerdahl. And as ever, if spelling isn't that important, if it looks like Thor Heyerdahl, then it's points all round. Well done. And then the final question, question 10, in general knowledge, which element did Marie Curie name after the country of her birth? Well, she was born in Poland, and the element is polonium. Polonium. So, well done if you got that. So that's we've now got 2 more rounds we marked, 24, so we can add those to the first 3 round scores. I'll pop the live chat back on live now, so we've got an idea of who's done best this week, and also pop any other comments on as well. But for the moment, I'll just leave the live chat on. Look forward to seeing your comments, and then also look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place next week for another Tuesday night quiz, 8 o'clock on Pub Quiz 60. But the live chat's back on live now. If you want to write down your final scores, it's always good to see who's won and any other comments. And like I say, I'll see you next week. All the best.